Hello, I'm EnterElysium and welcome back to World War K. Looks like MechJeb have fortified the island runway. They've got a AAA of some kind, they've got a missile battery, it looks like a air flak cannon of some kind as well set up. And they've also got at least 3 new fighters. Now, the fighters they had in the last time we attacked this island were pretty, well, slow, not really awful at maneuvering. These ones seem to be some sort of VTOL multirole with a vectoring engine. So they're smaller, they've got a vectoring engine. I suspect that they may be a bit better at maneuvering than the last ones. The last ones were, frankly, terrible. The VTOL ability maybe gives them a bit of, I don't know, ability to take off quicker, respond to threats. You know, mainly I'm worried about the fact they've got these guys in addition to ground defenses. I think we're going to have to go back and take out the ground defenses, take out their air fighters, and then be able to maybe launch an assault next time around. And if Jeb managed to bail out after an unsuccessful raid, he's probably still being held somewhere on that island. So, the mission for today, get to the island, destroy the defenses, and take out the air superiority fighters that they have. So, we've managed to get some computer designs of their new fighters, and we're going to do a simulation against them using our current air superiority light fighter. So, we're going to do a 1v3, because I think that's fair odds. You know, we are a crack pilot. Val is flying the simulation. So, with our fighter, which is kind of reminiscent of a Eurofighter, and their multi-role VTOL fighters that are actually very reminiscent of the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter that the US is in the final phases of rolling out. Maybe 2 years until it's actually going to see any sort of ground attacks or air sorties going on. But we're off with a ARAM missile over there, an ARAM missile over there, just expelling our ordnance. I think we've missed with that one. The other one is... Oh, that's a good hit. Very nice. See, the plan against these guys is we've got a very nimble craft. I'm going to fire my ordnance off early and get in close because I think we have the advantage here. Firing off a Sidewinder. Very nice. The guy couldn't maneuver at all. I think they had turned a bit sharply there and run out of velocity, and their speed drop just made them sit and duck for that missile. No way it was going to miss. And we pulled onto this guy's tail very nicely because we're so maneuverable. And that's a kill. Pegged him with guns straight over the top. I'm not worried about their fighters. I'm not worried about their fighters at all. Yeah, we'll have the advantage, but I think we will make a new fighter, and we'll try out something maybe a bit more advanced, maybe something a bit more powerful. Now, the disadvantage our current air superiority fighter has is it's, you know, not that powerful. Maybe we can improve on that. So, the MechJeb fighter is kind of reminiscent of the F-35, the Joint Strike Fighter the American military are working on and will be shipped out to a load of its allies as well. So the F-35 is a multi-role fighter that's going to be used by the Air Force, the Navy, and the Marines. And the important thing to know about it for the purpose of this discussion is that it was designed with the purpose of being able to fit a giant lifter fan in the middle section. This lifter fan points downwards and can push the aircraft up. Now the important thing about that is it means it needs to have a wide enough airframe to be able to take such a large lifter fan. And it has led to a number of issues. So, I'm going to rail quite hard on the F-35 here. With a large airframe, you get a number of problems. For a start, with a lifter fan in the center, it means you can't really have much of a payload in a stealth fighter, because the F-35 is designed to be a stealth fighter. You can't put the payload on the wings, it ruins the shape. It also ruins the aerodynamics of it, and makes it, well, kind of unable to get to high velocities, and it was designed with being able to get supersonic. So, the lifter fan means that the Marine Corps variant, which has a lifter fan, the other 2 variants do not, can't really carry much payload. And it means that for all variants, they have a very large airframe. They all share the same airframe. And the reason this is bad is because a large airframe, in terms of width and height, is sort of a very large cross-section going into the air, means you have to push more air out the way and makes it slower. By the way, note on our current setup here, 2 vectoring engines, possibly a bit too much gimbal. We are actually stopping dead in the air. I don't think we can use vectoring engines. As much as I love them, right now we're actually losing all of our forward velocity as we turn. Now I could turn the gimbaling down, but there are better engines if you want power, and I think we kind of want power, because look at this, we just stopped again in midair. Definitely the wrong choice for us. So the more air you have to push out of the way, the slower your plane is going to be, the slower it's going to be to maneuver, the more fuel it's going to use, and it's led to the F-35 having a number of problems. For a start, it doesn't have a range or an altitude comparable with something like the F-22, which is designed as an air superiority stealth fighter. The F-35 is designed as a multi-role, but the important thing to remember is, I know people are going to be like, well, it's a multi-role. It's not meant to do all these cool things. It's just meant to do everything a little bit. But it's also replacing pretty much most aircraft in the American inventory, including things like the F-16, which is, to an extent, an air superiority fighter. It will be running air superiority missions, and the F-22 is no longer in production. There are less than 200 of them. It's going to have to do an air superiority role. So the F-35 will be doing air superiority, it will be doing a number of things, and frankly, it can't do air superiority very well. One recent test, the pilot came back and just said it's awful, it's going to get gunned every time, and that test was against the craft that is replacing the F-16. It loses hands down every time to the F-16, and it's meant to be replacing it. By the way, this craft here is working really nicely. It's very maneuverable, it's got a decent amount of speed, but one thing I'm a little bit concerned about is that the twin engine setup allows us to, if we get gunned in the rear and we lose an engine, which is actually fairly common, I'd like a second engine, but the problem is these two engines are one component, one part. If we lose the one part, we lose both our engines. And also our back wings. I think I would probably have to replace this at some point with two engines so that we have that redundancy. And that's another problem with the F-35 Lightning. It has a single engine to keep the weight down so that it can do the lifting. Which means that it is not as powerful, it's not as reliable, because if you get one engine out, well, you're dead. It doesn't glide for a very long time. So you've got that problem as well. And the Marine Corps variant, which has had to have a very large amount of weight stripped from it so they can actually take off with the heavy lifter fan, shock horror, means that it's actually much more likely to get destroyed when hit by fire. It's also got a lot of safeties ripped out, it's got its airframe lightened, and it can't carry much payload again when in lifter form, because it's having to lift and can't take much payload because otherwise it wouldn't rise. You're getting the problem here, right? That the main issue is that it was going to be an aircraft that should have the ability, or at least the capability in some of its variants, to have a lifter fan. So what you've got is an aircraft that has to do stealth, so it cannot do, say, jump jets on the side, because those ruin the outline, so it has to have a lifter fan. It has to go supersonic, so you can't really have missiles and stuff attached to the wings, they have to go on the internal bomb bay. So you've got a Marine Corps variant which is not very fuel efficient at all, pretty heavy, and can't carry much ordnance. You've got a Navy and an Air Force variant that can't actually do the jobs that they're intended to do in terms of taking out enemy fighters, and don't have the same operational range or ceiling. Now, if we compare them to something like the F-22, which is what we're building here, we're basically building an F-22 knockoff, or at least as close as I can make it. The F-22 is more expensive. It does have, you know, a lot more stealth capabilities, etc. But it also has a higher range, a higher speed. It can go just a higher altitude. It, of course, carries more payload than, you know, the F-35 from the Marine Corps, at least. I'm not sure about the other two. The F-22 is an air superiority fighter, and it was, you know, designed definitely with that in mind. The F-35, well designed as a multi-role, people will keep saying this to me, and I keep having to say, yes, I know it's designed as a multi-role, but part of its multi-role is to be air superiority, and it will have to do that role. It will lose out every time, and the amusing thing is that the Chinese have got some of the data from the F-35, and have made their own variant, which they call the J-31. The J-31 is made smaller, lighter, has two engines at the back, is lacking a lifter fan, so doesn't do any VTOL, and likely will outperform the F-35. So, by the way, here I'm experimenting with firing missiles from an internal bomb bay, much like the F-35 and the F-22 do, because, you know, stealth capabilities. Doesn't really do much for us in KSP. The problem is, yeah, trying to get missiles to launch without blowing up our airframe is a problem. And now I can maybe do it sometimes reliably in flight, but you have to remember that the AI will also be flying some of our aircraft for us, and if it at all explodes, the AI will probably make it happen. And while that's one flight so far, that was the only flight that didn't explode when firing any ordnance. So I think we'll probably have to say goodbye to the internal bomb bay idea and just put them on the wing, unfortunately. But the F-22 is about, depending on who you really ask and how you really take the measurement, it's about 70% more expensive if we take a sort of a halfway house than the F-35. But it will probably get kills a lot more often, a lot more reliably, and has a larger operational range, which allows you to do more roles of it than something like the F-35. I mean, another problem with the F-35 is you can't really see very easily back from the cockpit because the bulky lifter fan section takes up a lot of your rear view. And of course, the F-35 does have 360-degree cameras, but they're not higher resolution as the human eye. That's something that may, of course, change, 20 years in the future or whatever, when it gets an upgrade and we have better technology, but right now, kind of awful. So, with this design here, I have put basically 2 standard turbojets. I normally pass them up because they're vanilla and I kind of forget vanilla. But quite frankly, this is giving us some really good speed. We're, not far off the shore and we're already going supersonic. Which is one of the important things about things like the F-22 and the F-35, these 5th generation fighters, is they are designed to be able to go supersonic without afterburners. So that's nice that we can get this in. And it's also fairly maneuverable despite having no vectoring engines. The F-35 actually, its vectoring engine is pretty state-of-the-art. And the one thing it can do nicely is it can do a pretty cool maneuver where it effectively uses its vectoring engine to get a lot of movement and angle change, but it does lose a lot of speed by doing that because, of course, increasing the angle of attack means that you will take more drag, slows you down, and after it's done that maneuver, it is a sitting duck. And they can do that one maneuver one time, and then it's kind of easy to shoot down and you're kind of stuck. But this puppy here, look at that maneuver, absolutely beautiful. We can go fast, and it does accelerate. It's a little bit slow off accelerating off the mark there, but I think it is probably still by far the fastest accelerating fighter that we have yet developed, or that even MechJeb have. So the idea now is just to weaponize it, maybe tweak a couple of settings. I think that we may need to tweak the landing gear, etc. maybe. And by the way, we are using these RCS thrusters, they aren't RCS, they're actually jet thrusters. The reason I'm using them is so that when we have the AI flying with us, the AI can tweak its movements to follow us. Otherwise, I wouldn't really have them. They actually increase our surface area a little bit. But we're going to go for 2 cannons, because I end up using the dogfighting capability quite a lot. And by the way, people will say, oh, you don't need to dogfight with the F-35. People have been saying that since the Vietnam War, and it's proven that having cannon, being able to dogfight, saves lives and increases kills, and people have been saying that you don't need cannons, you don't need to dogfight since Vietnam, and they have always been wrong. So let's not even mention that one. But we're weaponized and we're ready to go. So, we have 5 of our planes. It looks like MechJeb have got a 4th plane on the runway ready, so we outnumber them only by 1, and they have 3 ground batteries. I'm not sure how we're going to be, tasked with taking them out. The payload that I have got is 2 ARAMs, so those are anti-air, fairly long range. 2 Sidewinders, anti-air, fairly short range. 2 Mavericks, anti-surface, air-to-surface missiles, medium range, and I've got 2 Hellfires as well, which are air-to-surface missiles, but pretty short range. So we've got basically an all-round sort of hedge your bets kind of style. The AI, by the way, will always engage air targets before ground targets, I think. So I'm going to basically go for ground targets, and I'm expecting my wingmen to try and take on the fighters. Hopefully we'll get a couple of shots in a pass. I'm hoping that we can maybe hit the flat cannon and then the AAA phalanx weapon on the hill, and then we'll come around and hopefully engage some fighters. So we're ready. It's time to get to the action. Okay, so we're already engaging. Everyone's going in.
Break the attack formation.
Let's dive. I'm going to lose a little bit of speed here because it's kind of hard to maneuver at Mach, but then I want to be able to go supersonic and just go as fast in as possible, give them as little time to respond, little time to get their craft up, and also my velocity will be added to my missile. Means less time for them to be able to take out my missile. Basically, the lead time on the missile will be much shorter. They won't be able to shoot it down as easily because, Flak and the AAA they have can quite easily take down the missile. They've also launched an anti-air high-velocity PAC-3 missile, so hopefully my wingman can dodge that. Doesn't look like it's coming for me.
Hostile SAM incoming.
The ability to go this fast, by the way, so good. We got here really quick, and being able to close the distance this quickly to something that might be trying to target me, the flak's already up, is good.
Enemy flag. Over the target zone.
I'm really loving how this plane handles. It might not be as maneuverable quite as our Eurofighter-ish design,
Missile away. Attack.
but I really love it. Alright, so it's one missile away. I'm basically planning to put 2 missiles on each target, so that if it shoots down one,
Second missile away. Switching targets.
the other can still hit it, and they look good. So we're going to pull up towards the hill now. And try and get our Hellfires. Now this one I'm a lot more worried about. The Phalanx can put up a lot of fire very quickly and can basically strip your craft down, especially if you're headed towards or away from it directly. It gives it basically a zero deflection shot. It will take you out, and this is going to be a really tough one. So, got to get really close.
Missile away. Attacking. Second missile away. Looking good.
Yes!
1 hit, 2 hits, that looks like a kill. Target still intact, but probably non-functional.
Absolutely beautiful. I'm so glad that it was targeting my allies. Maybe they're not, but I am pretty glad. Benefit here is that we've got the additional power. We can climb.
We have been locked.
Our rate of ascent is really, really good. We've got a missile income. Hopefully we can dodge this one. Oh yeah, and we've got a higher operational ceiling than the enemy fighters, so we have the high advantage here.
Fire missile. Rock 3.
And I'm playing to that. Our airplanes are above, firing down on these guys. These guys are still trying to make enough height to be able to take us down. And I think it's working really well for us. These guys just cannot quite climb as fast as we can.
Flag is still operational.
I'm hoping to roll in behind this guy. I've got a lot more power than him. I'm probably just enough, not more maneuverable than him as well. So I think we should be good here. I have to be careful about shooting over him. Overshooting him, because I have a lot more, a bit... Oh, we're being flaked.
Rock 2. That is a miss.
Oh, that's nasty. I'm really, really afraid of the flak. Alright, so just get in behind this guy. Carefully do it. Carefully do it. Lead him.
Guns, guns, guns. We have a hit. Looks like we got the engine.
And see, if he had a second engine, he'd still be in the fight. This is why second engines are important. If he had a second engine, he'd be continuing on. As it is, there's not much he can do. Now, KSP is very friendly with glides, so
Yeehaw!
he'll probably be in the fight. Maybe, but he's running out of speed there. Looks like he's going to stall.
Oh, looks like a kill there for someone. And another kill. I think that was Val. Nice shooting, Val.
And you see those 2 missiles from above just taking those guys out. Our guys are owning. Absolutely owning. We're taking them apart.
And that's a kill for us. He's going in the drink. Fury Kerman, nice shooting. I think that's all enemy fighters dealt with.
Oh, lovely kill for us there. I think that's all the enemy fighters. Our one is going into the drink now. We've taken its wing off.
He's going down, no wings. I think that kill counts as mine. Kill stealer, that kill still counts as mine. Really? Really, Val?
We've thoroughly taken them apart. The fighters couldn't compete, and it looks like the ground forces are maybe also left. It looks like the flak's actually down.
Guns, guns, guns.
So, F-35. Not really quite as good. Of course it's going to be, good. It'll do the job, but it won't do the job as well as any 4.5 generation fighter like the Eurofighter. It won't beat probably any 5th generation fighters.
Engaging the sand.
And maybe you'd still lose out in some cases to 4th gen fighters. This is what happens when you have a massive, multi-different service thing that doesn't fulfill anyone's requirements perfectly. And it's going to have a monopoly. You should probably just have one for the Marines, and then maybe one for the Navy and the Air Force. I've been EnterElysium. I think we've won this.
Missile coming in on the AAA. That's one target down out of those. And the flag says one left.
We did have a slight advantage having 5 attacking against 4 with ground offenses, but we had the height to start with, and that's because of the last mission we owned quite well. So because we owned it so well, we had an advantage starting off. We had an extra plane.
And it looks like another kill.
And that's the kill. It really paid off.
Airspace is clean. Transformation was a success.
If you enjoyed today's episode of World War K, please remember to like if not subscribed. Consider subscribing to see more. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. I really enjoy this craft. And if you want the craft files and the saves, by the way, I might put them down below so that you can play them. That has been requested. I'll also put a list, mod list down below somewhere so you can actually have the mods to play the game, because you will need them for my save files. And also, if you're interested in reading about the F-35 being really expensive and not being great, I'll put some links down below. I know it's not going to stop fanboying about the F-35 because it's new and it's promoted because Lockheed want everyone to love it, but hey-oh, I try. Stay shiny.